Hi everyone, my name is Shine from the Salt and Light Realty. I am sitting in place of Alex right now, who is usually here doing these interviews. But I am here with John from Plumbing Pros, and today we are going to talk about a few things. If you follow us on YouTube, this is a one-part video, but if you're watching this on Instagram or Facebook, this is a three-part reel. So without further ado, I want to introduce John to you from Plumbing Pros.
Hello.
Tell me, what is your position at Plumbing Pros?
I'm the owner and manager. I run everyday's operations.
Can you just share with me your experience in the plumbing industry?
Well, I started in 1997, and I've been in plumbing. It's been the only job since I had in 1997. I was 19 at the time, and I traveled to different places to work, and I love the trade. I love helping people. And when I came to Guam, it was a little bit difficult to find a job in the plumbing industry. So I did work here for a few years, and I just found myself, well, I'm going to open up my own business. And I started helping people, and they really they appreciated me, and I helped them with their issues, and it just came to be Plumbing Pros. And then I started in 2014. And it went well, and then I just kept on doing that, and it kept me on Guam and now I've been here 13 years.
How many people do you have in your team right now?
We have total with me six.
6 people.
6 people.
And what kind of certifications, licenses do you hold?
I have a journeyman's plumber's license, and I hold that in Ontario, Canada. I have a backflow prevention license that's throughout the United States and Guam. That's backflow prevention. They're starting to implement that on Guam a lot now.
Yes, we get that a lot.
And I have a C37 specialty license here on Guam.
I see. So when you kind of started, right, I understand that you were trying to find a job in Guam, and there wasn't really a lot of plumbing job, and so you kind of wanted to start your own. Was there like a need that you've noticed that, you know, the rest of the plumbing companies on Guam do not offer or do not fill, that you thought, you know what, I want to fill this need?
If I answer the phone, I usually give them like ways to fix it themselves before you call me over there.
I love that.
So you don't have to, some things they can fix themselves, or just do a little bit of maintenance to see if they really do need a plumber.
I do, what you're saying, I really relate to. Like, I love that you're customer-centered, client-centered, and not just about, hey, I can go there, make a quick buck out of this client, and if they can do it, versus if you can teach them to do it themselves. We love working with companies like that. Also, the educational part, teaching them that, hey, this is what costs your leak, and not just going there, doing the job, and then splitting, right? And I also love that you are high touch. Like, you are the owner, but you're still involved in the day-to-day, taking time to go over there, meet with your clients. And I think that's something that would set you apart from other companies, I would say. So I do appreciate that. So I know you talked about like your certification. So, but what like really are your main areas of specialization in the plumbing? Like, is there like a specific, obviously, I'm not like well-versed in whatever goes on with plumbing, but what is it like you specialize on?
We specialize in a lot of drains. Like, if you have problems with your drains and it's always backing up on you, always calling plumbers, within the year, maybe 3 times a year, then we can come up, we can basically bring those pipes back to life, so you don't have to.
Okay.
You don't keep on having to snake it out, or you're having these backup problems. And they actually find the problem and come up with a solution to repair them, to fix them, so that it doesn't happen anymore.
So you're thinking more like long-term for the clients, not just like, let's Band-Aid
it. Well, yeah,
it.
because like a lot of times they'll have these people come in, or other companies come in, or they hire another company.
Right.
And they're just kind of putting a Band-Aid on it, maybe not getting down to the problem and fixing it. And that's the only, and then I come in there and I'll troubleshoot it, and we'll find a solution to repair it so it doesn't happen anymore. And those are the worst times ever, when people are having backups.
Yes.
in the morning time or at night.
Oh my gosh,
they're,
yes.
They're having sewage coming up from their floor, and they have to take the day off the next day.
Nobody likes sewer in their floor.
Yeah, no.
Sewage, whatever.
And it stinks.
It does. That's gross. But I want to move forward from the sewer, but I do have an important question. Because we do a lot. Okay, so when we sell properties, one of the main inspections that we ask the clients, or we recommend to clients that they do, is the septic tank inspection. Do you guys do that? Like,
we do. We look in the septic tank, make sure it's functional, it's waterproof. Everything is in working order.
But you don't drain, like...
We don't drain the septic tank, but before they call us out, we'll ask them to drain the septic tank so we can actually inspect it, because you can't inspect a septic tank when it's full of sewage.
I see.
You won't be able to see anything.
Right,
the
of
only
course,
thing you're going to see is the first couple of feet of the septic tank.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's good to know. So, like, if a client calls you and says, hey, I received this power bill and it's saying that, or this water bill, and it's saying, like, it's $1,000 and I usually only pay like $50. How do they know it's a leak inside their house that they are responsible for versus, like, if it's like GPA? Like, how do you...
If I take the phone call, or I try to teach my CSR to ask, like, if they know and everybody should know where their water meter is
right.
at. It's part of a homeowner. You should know where the water meter is. And if you can they sometimes lock those water meters, but you can always ask them to come and unlock it, or have
GWA, that's right.
GWA come and unlock it for you, and then check your water meter. And there's a little round red dial that every time you're using the water, this dial will turn to register your water. Right. And if it's not using any water, that red dial should be not turning, moving.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, if you live in a house and your water bill is high, maybe don't use any water. Go outside, check the water meter, and see if that red dial is moving.
So how do you know then? Like, is it like? So I guess my question is, like, at what point do you call, like, the plumber versus, like, or do you recommend that they call GWA first and see if it's like something outside, or is it always there? Probably?
I would always check it yourself. I would always go, if you know where the water meter is, and if you need GWA. The GWA is basically going to look at your water meter and tell you if it's theirs or yours. They're not going to go in your house and check anything like that. And then if you notice your dial spinning, maybe the first thing is to check your toilets. I would always check your toilets. So the first things that are going to consume water and waste water, you can use a lot of water by having leaky toilets in your house. So you just go and make sure they're not leaking, and then other than that, make sure your faucets are turned off. I went to one lady's house, and her faucet, somebody from her that cuts her lawn left her water hose bib running. Wow. She didn't really realize it was like, 100 feet. It was hooked up to her hose bib, and a hose ran out, and then that's all it was. And then she was using, I think she was using $700, and she called me, and then
she thought it was
the water was just running.
So first, just make sure everything is off. Then check your toilets, and then check that little red thing in the water meter. So then if everything is off and that red thing is turning, do they then call you?
Then you call me.
Then you call John after that. So it'll save you time. Well, that's good information. So what are the most frequent plumbing issues you encounter in residential homes?
Well, if you believe it or not, it would be a lot of leak detections. We get most phone calls for leak detections, backups, a lot of backup problems, shower faucets leaking, toilets need to be changed or leaking from the bottom or running. People want to, find out what's wrong. Why is it backing up? We have sewer cameras to see what's in their lines. What's causing the backup, how to solve it. So,
at the top of your mind, like a plumbing problem that homeowners should never attempt to fix themselves.
Let me think. Maybe like a slab leak. If they have a slab leak, they want to go. They think they know where it's at. They want to go in, break open the concrete or tiles, and then try to. And then they all of a sudden they have some galvanized water lines in their floor. You probably should never touch it
that.
or cut it or anything like that. You know, people do rent snakes, and
Right.
you know, sometimes they get them stuck, or you know, things like that. We went to even professionals probably get them stuck. I went to this one restaurant, and they have a half-inch cable stuck in their line, and I can't even get it out.
They put it
and then
in
they
the.
did it, and they just took the machine out and left the
Oh my.
left the cable
Oh
in
my
there, rolled
goodness.
up, and it's still in there to this day.
It's still there. You
It's
could
still
not.
there.
Is it causing them problems? You know.
It's most likely causing them problems.
Okay, so don't maybe try not to snake it yourself. Just let John snake it.
This was somebody they hired, I believe.
Oh, they hired. Okay,
I
so
don't know
let
if
the
it was,
professional plumbing pros take care of that. So how then do you make sure that doesn't happen on your end?
Oh, well, you know, we always go in with feel. So we feel the pipe, we see what happens. You know, we make sure we don't get stuck, because that's the worst thing in the world to do, is get a cable stuck in a line. So we always think it's free, and then we just go in and we do it by feel, how we're feeling the pipe and where the problem's at. And if we get ourselves in some trouble, we pull it out, and then we have some other ways that we're gonna do it first. We need to take a camera in there first and see where it's at, locate it.
Just have the right finesse.
Yeah, and then get
right?
to the actual spot they're having a problem. We'll open that up.
Okay, I see. Okay, so then, you know, preventative maintenance, let's go to that. Like, what regular maintenance do you recommend for residential plumbing systems? And then also, what early warning signs of potential, can you identify like any early warning signs for potential plumbing problems as they're doing their maintenance or not?
You can tell when a backup's starting to come, you're gonna get a gurgling noise.
Where?
Like when you flush a toilet, or you drain the sink, it's gonna gurgle.
Okay.
You're gonna hear it chugging. It's gonna be looking for air,
Like
or
it's having a hard time.
it's having a hard time going down, a slow drain. That tells you you're gonna have a backup. A backup's occurring. It's just that pipe is filling up with water, and it's gonna start chugging. And then that is a time to, okay, now we have to look at our drains. Is there a problem? Like, why are we having a backup?
So then what preventative maintenance do you recommend for residential?
Preventative maintenance, I don't think you really need too much preventative maintenance. But if you have things like water softeners, always got to put salt in it, change filters. If you have an RO system that's for drinking water,
Right.
change those on. You should know when they need to be changed. And they do have some better ones these days where they tell you when the actual filter needs to be changed, so you're not guessing.
Yeah.
And those are definitely things that you need to stay up on top of. You know what I mean? Make sure that if you have a filter before your tankless water heater.
Right.
A lot of people that they have low water pressure. So we have no low water pressure. How long has it been going on? It's been happening a couple months, and then all of a sudden it's like they have a few filters, in front of their water softener or even at their house, and they're full already, and no water's going through it. So now they have low water pressure, and all they do is just change these filters out, and then everything get back to normal.
Oh, that's good information. I did not know that.
So if you have filters at your house, and then
do.
you should you make sure they're clean, and then you probably use them for about 3 months and then change them.
Okay.
Or else, if you're having a low water pressure, means you waited a little bit too long, and they just need to be changed. That's all.
I think the one that I forget the most is the filter before the tankless water heater. It's like
The filter before, because there's a sediment filter that's going to catch all
I
those
forget that one all the
all
time.
those imperfections in the water, and there's a lot of them.
And it doesn't tell me. Like my fridge tells me.
Yeah, they need to change your
the
filter.
Reverse osmosis.
Yeah.
There's like a red light, but then the one before the water heater,
You forget about it.
Yeah, you do forget about it. So set a timer, or not a timer, but
put it on your calendar, right?
Reminder. Yes, that's a good advice. Thank you.
And these are the things that homeowners can do on their own, as long as they know where to shut the water off. And everybody should know where to shut the water off.
Where is that? In case
everybody should know where. Where is the water shut off? It's important.
Where is the water shut off?
Because when it's like 9
o'clock.
o'clock.
Is it different for every house?
They're basically like it should be after a water meter. You should know where your water meter is, and then a couple feet from there, you should have a water shut off.
Like a
hopefully
like
you have a
main
little
water shut-off valve.
for the whole house, because there's nothing worse than, you know, at 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday,
Oh, yes.
and then some hose broke and you don't know where to shut off the water, and then you can't get a hold of a plumber.
And you know, not a lot of homes in Guam have that main shut-off valve.
There's some that don't, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
recommend
yeah.
having it installed.
It
Do you guys
100%.
install that?
We do.
Okay, you might get a lot of calls now for check your meter
Yeah.
and see if you have a shut-off valve. If you don't, call John.
I always encourage people to get a shut-off valve just for those reasons, for emergency, peace of mind. Even if you're going on vacation, nobody watching your house. You shouldn't leave your water on, nobody watching your house. Shut that off.
Shut it off.
Nothing worse than coming home on vacation. I got to clean up your house because something happened.
Okay. So to install a shut-off valve, how much do you think that usually costs? Like, just if it's like a straight-up install, like an estimate. Can you disclose
How much
that?
it costs to put a shut-off valve in?
Yeah. Like for you guys.
Yeah.
Like how much do you usually charge?
You'd be looking at, like, you know, I would say $300 to $500.
Okay, so not much, and it's definitely worth the investment.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if something happened and you know somewhere to shut off the water, you could be at, you know, you have peace of mind. You know what I mean? And if you're leaving somewhere off island or something happens, you have a way to shut off the water. Or if you have to do some sort of maintenance on a filter or anything like that, you can just shut it off and do it yourself. You should know.
Honestly, you know, I think like for all our property management, like our clients, I think we're gonna look into all of their homes and see if they do have that.
And you got, like, for most maintenance on a plumbing system, like if you're dealing with water, the plumber has to shut off the water in some way.
But sometimes they do it like the GWA, right? Because they can't.
Yeah.
You get in trouble for that.
They don't
You're not
like
supposed
that.
to touch
GWA
that, right?
Does not like that.
Yeah, don't touch that. So install the shut-off valve.
Shut off the shut-off valve.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you handle emergency plumbing situations?
We would handle like any other call.
So
you know what I mean?
you
We'll
triage?
we'll prioritize them. You know, you know, if there's a tree emergency, if they need an emergency call, we'll put it. You know, we'll put everybody else on the side and go attend to their problem. You know, help them out. You know, and
How do you determine
then-
what is an emergency versus like something that could just like wait maybe
well,
a few
like
days?
they're getting flooded. Maybe
Okay.
their house is getting flooded. They don't know what to do, and water's coming out of the wall, or you know, what I mean, the valve broke, or the hose broke, and I don't know where to shut off the water, and it's making a mess. Or another problem is like, okay, we got sewage coming up, and it's just making a huge mess. We have kids here.
Yeah.
We have elderly people here. You know, we'll prioritize that, and then, you know, if they do have like a you know, water that's coming out, something happened, something broke, we'll ask them if they know where the water is and go shut it off. You know,
Okay.
we'll give them tips to
Right.
be able to control that
To
until
control.
we get there.
Okay. Well, because that was the next question is like, what should homeowners do while they're waiting for you during an
Yeah.
emergency?
Definitely, if it's something that broke, something to do with their water, is know where your water shut off valve and shut that down.
Okay.
And then that'll stop that, and then they won't have water, but they won't have a big, they'll control the mess that it's going to make.
What about for the backup?
The backup, just don't use any water. You know, don't use the toilets, don't use the showers. Wait till we get there so we can clear it. Because basically, the backup is like the water has no place to go. It's like
Right.
it's not making it to your septic tank, or it's not making it to the city sewer.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, because there's a clog there, and then every time you're using the water, it's just filling up the pipe, and it's just coming back up in the lowest point of the house.
Environmental impact. What eco-friendly plumbing solutions do you recommend?
Eco-friendly. Like we do like pipelining now. We've been involved with it in the past year or so.
What is that?
And that's like, so basically, everybody's had, like, a lot of these homes that are built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and possibly early 80s have this cast iron pipe.
Right. Yes. I
And
renovate
cast
a lot of
iron
those.
pipe has its limitations. It has its lifespan with maybe 20, 25 to 50 years. And then after the cast iron starts to deteriorate, you know what I mean? It's basically steel. And once the tar has gone off the steel, it just it's like a car. If you don't have paint on it,
deteriorates.
it starts to rust away.
Right, right.
So instead of like, tearing up your house and your backyard and digging up this old pipe and taking a long time to do it, basically we can just put a new pipe within the old pipe without removing the old pipe. And
like replumbing.
Yeah, it doesn't really have any, we don't really have to tear apart any walls or floors. Just make maybe a few holes somewhere outside, but we don't have to trench and dig out your home, Like we can just basically line it or coat it with epoxy resin, epoxy and some resin, a hardener. Yeah. Basically a resin and a hardener, and it makes a new pipe within the old pipe.
I did not know that. I thought like
it's been around for a long time, but I think
plumb outside or something.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I've seen some residential, like when they renovate, you see the exposed pipe outside the walls going in.
We actually have a video of how it operates on our website.
Okay.
And it shows you, we'll clean it with chains. It's like a chain knocker machine. It's like a snake, and it moves in a rapid pace with a chain on it, and it gets rid of all the scale off the pipe, and it can bring it back to its bare metal. So sometimes your pipe is maybe really, like, you have a 4-inch pipe. It's probably like maybe 3 inches. We can bring it back to its 4 inches, clean all that off of it, and then we can shoot a liner, which is...
So it's basically a liner.
It's like a liner.
Within the cast iron.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a new pipe inside the old pipe.
That's
basically what it is.
That's innovative, I would say.
And that's really going green, because now you're not making, tearing up concrete dust, and then removing the old pipe and then disposing of it.
So do you invest, like, you say you invest a lot in like new equipment, tools and stuff like that. Like how often do you kind of like do your research and see like what is the coolest gadget for plumbing out there?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of cool gadgets.
So do you like kind of go and like, I'm going to buy this?
Yeah.
That's like me with systems, like we need this system.
And they're not cheap.
Buy this. I'm sure.
They're not cheap, plumbing, and then you have to get them off island most of the time.
And is that something that you guys like?
We invest in new tools, obviously. Not all the time, but when we see a need for them, we definitely would look into it and see if we can afford it and bring it to the island, so our customers would like that. If they're in a need for it, we definitely would want it.
Okay. So we get this question asked a lot: is tankless water heater versus regular tank water heater?
Right?
Yeah, conventional. Which one do you recommend more, and why?
Depends what you want. Like a conventional water heater is going to be the easier route.
Right.
It's going to definitely use more energy, but it's more simple or more basic.
Right.
And versus like a tankless water heater is going to save you space and depends what you're using it for, and you're not going to get the best quality one maybe here unless you could find one, and then it depends on if you don't have the space for a tank, I would definitely get a tankless, or if you going green, it's going to definitely use less power.
Right. And then
but it may not last as long.
How long do you think those?
Like tankless water here, I would say because of our water, it's very hard, and it basically, you should have some sort of water filter, water filtration, or a water softener
when you install those.
When you have these, and they'll last a lot longer. You have less problems.
But then, do you think like if somebody wants to convert to a conventional water heater versus to a tankless, would you say that most homes have the electrical capacity to?
No, I would say like a tankless and a conventional is going to be different power sources, right? Because a tank is always heating up water, and then a tankless is heating up water on demand. So you gotta have a lot more power to operate that. Okay. So you need more power. It needs more juice to operate it.
So is that something that you guys kind of look into? Do you guys install?
Yeah, we do that. Sometimes if it's close enough, we'll do the electrical and we'll get them going. If not, we can still have an electrician. We'll hire an electrician to do electrical work, and if it needs to be done that way.
So they don't need to hire.
It's still 100% possible to do that.
Okay.
No matter what.
And they don't need to hire a separate
sometimes
electrician.
no.
You can
Yeah,
like,
we can
source
hire
up.
that. We sub that out if they don't want to.
That's
if they don't want to
info.
go through that, you know.
Because definitely, I think that's, you know, I've converted to a tankless water heater only because of the space and the aesthetic.
But the space is definitely a space saver.
And it's a lot nicer. I can hide it versus like that big gray thing. Okay. Local considerations. What unique plumbing challenges exist in Guam? Guam's tropical climate, and of course, like our homes are mostly concrete, right? And how do local regulations affect plumbing work in Guam?
Well,
Do the first question first.
Where we live is you know, it's hot. You got a lot of sunlight, wind, rain.
Yeah.
So when people stick humid. So when people stick when the customers have these water heaters or water softeners or water filtration systems, tankless water heaters outside in the sun and rain, it may not last that long and deteriorate a lot quicker than if it was inside or covered inside of a storage unit of some sort. So, and a lot of times that water heater or that tankless heater or that water softener is outside. And
it's outside.
It can be done. You can have it out there, but it's probably not going to last as long with the elements that we face every day. It rains here all the time.
So do you just recommend that it be housed?
I would recommend it be I'd be covered in some way.
And they typically put them outside because it's easier, right?
Like, and inside we don't have basements and storage rooms, and it's usually one level or a 2-story.
I see.
And they're all, and sometimes that if they don't have a utility room, it goes outside, or that's the way it was built.
How do local regulations affect plumbing work in Guam?
The local regulations will maybe be a longer process. Now you're going to have to get, like, if you're going to encroach on the government property, you got to get permits. You're encroaching on their property, or you're tying into a pipe that belongs to them. So now you have to just get permits. You might need a blueprint. So it might just slow the process down a little bit.
Do you guys do the permits, or do they have to get somebody, or do they have to do that themselves?
It's up to the customer. Sometimes the customer wants to save some money and they want to do it themselves. They want to get their own blueprint. That's totally possible. You could do that yourself. We'll give you the option to do that, or we can also get the permits too.
Okay, that'll probably be me. Like, just do it all at once.
Yeah, just do it, right?
I don't want to worry about it. You worry about it. I'll pay you. Okay. Technology trends. What new plumbing technologies are you most excited about?
Technology stuff. I was talking about the lining. That's been around for a long time, but Guam is new. So I'm excited about that. They always have some new innovation in technology, how to locate pipes, or, they have these certain things that can, shake pipes that you can hear, that you can find them a lot easier. Whatever makes the job easier and more efficient is I'm a fan of.
So when you talk about, because I'm excited about that plumbing lining thing that you're talking about, like, what is the cost difference between, like, if you did that versus like replumb the whole house?
Huge. I would think it'd be huge, and the time demand, you could do a lot faster than you can do a conventional dig. And then, especially if it's in their house and they got these tiles, you're not going to find those tiles anymore. Tiles are like cell phones.
Yeah.
It's obsolete after a year or two. You're not going to find that same color tile.
Yeah, it's like you're going to have to replace your whole
tile. And then
tiles.
you still got to cut it, dust it. You probably got to move out of the house if you have kids or elderly people.
So in like what is the number range? Just like to give them an idea. Like, okay, you're spending maybe like $10,000 doing this relining versus like $20,000.
I would say like relining anywhere from like 150 to 250 per foot, and versus somebody conventional digging it could be somewhere around, I'm guessing, like anywhere from $300 to $600.
And that's all like the chipping work, the tiling, all of that. Okay, well that's a huge difference.
You gotta dig and cut and cement, and then you gotta redo it.
And it's more work, more labor intensive.
Yeah, you don't want, especially if it's in your house and you got to go across the whole house just to pull it out or find some sort of new way to put it in.
That's honestly great information for me, because when I do the renos, I'm always like, oh shoot, it's the plumbing, and to me, it's always such a big work, because I feel like we got to dig, we got to trench, change the whole pipe, and I can't even wrap my head around it. But when you're sharing this information, it's quite
And the
exciting.
most important thing is when somebody's doing a renovation, this is the time to address the plumbing.
Right.
Because most time people are just doing it for cosmetics. And they realize that, you know, the person that's doing it, not telling them about, okay, you got some old galvanized lines here that's deteriorating.
Right.
Let's maybe like fix it and not just cover it up with fancy tiles and flooring. Because then in a year's time and you have a leak, all that cosmetics money that you put in is gonna have to get torn out to repair the plumbing lines.
Definitely.
So that I see that a lot. Like I got this, you see this, their galvanized water lines deteriorating, causing a leak, and they're just falling apart. And you go inside too to see what they have, and it's all new. It's like,
so when a home buyer goes in, right, and we obviously always recommend home inspections. And they go in and buy this nicely renovated home, like new tiles, everything. How do you then like determine like if the plumbing system is old, like if it's like a galvanized?
I would definitely, like before you buy a house, I would definitely call a plumber and just do a home inspection on the house. It can go in depth and detail, or you can just have their, come and assess the problems, or if, assess to find any problems is what you want to do.
So you put in a camera maybe?
And I would definitely put a camera on the pipes and see if the pipes are running, they're draining fine, there's no breaks in the lines, and because that's the most cost, when you get into a house, that's going to be the most costly repair is like drainage, and depends where it's at.
So especially like older homes, because I know the older homes have the cast iron.
Even the newer homes, I would even still put a camera down. As you can always use that for the negotiating on the house. If there's a problem with it, you don't want to move in a month, and then all of a sudden you have this big backup, and then because you have rocks in the line or a broken pipe or whatever the case may be, you would definitely want to put a camera in there, see what the condition of the pipe is.
We never thought about doing like the plumbing. We usually hire a home inspector that kind of observes like the general of the home, and then we do like a septic. But with what you're telling me, like ordering a plumbing inspection is also just as important. And do you guys offer that type of it,
We
like
do.
for home buyers?
Definitely, we've done that in the past.
Can you disclose kind of like what your price range is to just do like a general inspection of like the plumbing system of the property?
Yeah, we do a general inspection, so we'll just charge an assessment, and that's usually $139.
Okay, so not bad. How has smart home technology impacted the plumbing industry? You had an experience in that?
Smart home technology, so they have a lot of things now for smart homes. They have, touchless faucets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have censored ones. So, you know what I mean? They have those. They have smart toilets. They're crazy. They're self-cleaning.
Yeah.
They self flush.
Right.
They have bidets.
Yeah.
They heated seats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're great. And then night lights when it's night, you know what I mean? Sometimes the whole lid will come up once you walk into the room.
Right.
You know what I mean? Give you a courtesy flush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or music.
Yeah. So a lot of these toilets are incredible. And then you just got to make sure you have the room and the power for them. They always use, AC power. So you got to make sure there's a plug so they operate, you know what I mean? So on those ones. RO systems are a new technology too. It's like they tell you when they need to change the filters, right? They have these also smart valves. So it tells you it monitors your usage of water.
Yes.
And so it probably take a little while, like maybe a week, to use your usage of water, and you have the same routine. And if it sees that you're having a high consumption of water, it can let you know on your smartphone. Or if it's excessive, it'll shut down. So it's not going to be making a mess or flooding your house in some sort of way when you're not home, and it sees like a large volume of water is being used.
Do you guys install those smart valves?
We haven't had the chance to install those. No concerns that people wanted them.
They have those on island?
They don't sell them on island.
Okay.
They even have them for water heaters, things like that. In case your water heater something's leaking on your water heater, it'll close the valve off, so nothing will, you have your tank that's 40 gallons, right? And they have these little monitors on the floor in case it gets wet or moisture, and it can shut off that valve because you have 40 gallons of water, and then that's going to drain in your house.
Are those pretty like compatible with any?
They're compatible. They're very compatible. They're
with Guam system.
Yeah, with Guam systems. You can put them in pretty much anywhere.
Customer service. Last question. You made it through.
Yeah, I made it in here.
Do you need another cup of coffee? Water maybe?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. What areas do you service and how do you handle scheduling? I think we kind of touched on that, but maybe you can elaborate more.
Yeah, we service the whole island of Guam. We schedule them as best as we can, and we'll put them on like maybe a 2-hour window, and then we'll call, we'll leave a text, and we'll let them know we're on our way.
So say for example, they have like a plumbing issue, we call you, hey John, I have this and that. How does that phone call typically work, and like what is the workflow from like that call?
So we'll usually book a call. We'll book a call, and then if it depends on our schedule that day and their priorities, we'll try to prioritize the priorities, that and people understand that we had one time we had a school and they had to shut down the school because they had overflow, the sewage was back up, so they closed school down, and this happened on like a Friday. So they had Friday off. Right? If they don't find a guy to help them out, these kids are not going to be going to school next week.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the job takes a little while. So those would be our first calls that we do. But prioritize is like in any setting that they'll call us, and then we'll just do an assessment. We'll do an assessment. We'll schedule within like a 2-hour window, and we'll be in contact with them the whole time. The plumbers, if we're late, or we're not, or we're running behind, or we need to reschedule, we'll always be in communication with that customer.
How many customers do you usually handle in like a day?
A day?
Like
anywhere from 4 to 8 calls per day.
And then are you able to like get to them within the day sometimes, or?
Most of the time we will get to them within the day.
Okay, that's good to know. Wow, that's a lot of calls. So what should customer expect when working with your company?
Great customer service.
Of course.
Give them options to fix things, solutions, and just listen to the customer and their what they need done, and then we'll give them. I usually want to give them a plumbing 101 of where to shut off the water and how to maintain what we just did. If it needs maintaining, what not to do, what we're doing, how much time we're taking to do it. If it takes a little bit more time than we thought, we'll let them know. So they're not, we'll just go through it with them and what we did and what our findings are.
You give them a report.
We give them a report.
Okay.
And we let them know. We inform them the whole way through.
Awesome.
So there's no surprises.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
so very transparent.
We're very transparent. Nobody likes surprises.
No, I do sometimes, depending. Flowers and chocolates, yes. Plumbing surprises,
right?
No.
Nobody likes to call a plumber. Nobody wakes up in the morning, I want to call the plumber. Nobody wants to do that.
Nobody
wants to call the plumber.
Thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy, but we appreciate you taking the time and kind of explaining how these things work, what our customers can expect. And so if our viewers or anybody would like to contact you, how can they reach you? And make sure to share your website too.
Yeah, our phone number is 646-7767. You can reach us on our website, that's plumbingprosgu.com, or you can email us at guamplumbingpros@gmail.com.
And what is your social media handle?
We handle Facebook and Instagram,
so
and that's Plumbing Pros Guam.
Okay, Plumbing Pros Guam. Make sure you contact them for any plumbing issues, even inspections, things that you should not be touching yourselves or trying to DIY. call John
Yeah.
and he'll take care of you.
And you can easily find us on Google by just typing in
Yeah.
Plumbing Pros Guam, and you'll see us on there.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.